All right. First of all, you got just me tonight. This is the beginning of the week-long edition of the wrap-up show without Jim. So for some of you, that's probably a good thing. For some of you, that's probably a bad thing. But Jim is within the next, 12 hours en route to Zurich, Switzerland, of all places, to begin his honeymoon with his wife, Erin. So you have me as the Padres fall tonight, 5-2 to the Rockies at Petco Park. If you listen to John and Jim today, and there's a lot of directions we can go here, and it's not panic day after you start 9-2 in the second half and you lose tonight to the Rockies. And if you listen to John and Jim today, we told you be on high alert that this was a distinct possibility in this series, that Austin Gomber had pitched very well against the Padres in his career, that the Padres were due for some type of hangover effect potentially after playing the Dodgers, and that this was a possibility. And, almost that we'd learn more about the Padres potentially in this series than we did in the Dodgers series. So it is only one game. We don't know who wins the series. It could be the Padres. It could be the Rockies. It's not the way you want to start a series. I promise you that. And it's not the way you really want to debut your fresh look bullpen that is going to be here to preserve leads. But, I'd be disingenuous if I came on today and, said that the sky's falling or everything is fine with like the burning house emoji, because that's not where it is. So we'll react to everything. Get yourself in here and subscribe. All right. We're here for you. Even when Jim's going to Zurich, Switzerland. All right. We're here for you. Programming announcement. I'm going to be here all next week, but not Sunday night, because I'm going to be in Palm Springs with my family. As you guys know, I do this every single night, so that never happens. So I'm away Saturday night and Sunday night. I'll be back Monday morning, and then the Padres are off Monday. The next game will be Tuesday. So there is no wrap-up show on Sunday night for the first time in forever, but we will be back next week with shows every single game throughout the course of the upcoming week. But tonight, again, the Padres fall 5-2. Please subscribe here on Content for Padres fans. Smash the like button for me. Follow me on X at John Schaefer. Appreciate the super chats. I know one already rolled in. The best way to interact tonight is going to be with the super chats. I can't keep up with the chat. It's impossible. It's a one-man show. So if you want to make sure I see your comment, I've got a separate notification for it. So we'll get to every single super chat. If you want to take the direction of the conversation somewhere, would love for you to do it. If you want to support the work, really appreciate it. You can just click the $sign below the chat box. And if you want to become a member, we have emojis, we have badges, we've got all kinds of stuff for members. You can click that join button down below. So, in a game like this, Randy Vasquez, you even had a suspicion early on that it might not be your night. And I'll explain why. It had nothing to do with the Rockies scoring first, because the Padres responded, but it was the start of the game. Charlie Blackmon, I think he saw 11 or 12 pitches from Randy Vasquez, and they made Vasquez work. I thought Vasquez was more than good enough. He's coming off the worst start of his season. He bounces back. He goes 5 innings, allows 1 run. It should be more than good enough against Colorado to leave with a lead. But, Rockies score first on a home run the second. Padres come back and tie it up. Machado, has been so impactful, obviously, while the Padres have played this good baseball over the last 30-plus days. You're tied up. And then all of a sudden, Solano homers, like perfect. You got Solano in there against a left-handed starter in Gomber, and you've got a 2-1 lead. Vasquez gives you 5, and this is why you made the moves you made, right? You got the Suarez's and the Estradas and the, all the pieces, Jason Adam and Tanner Scott, right? You have more than enough to navigate 4 innings with a lead against the Colorado Rockies, right? That's what everyone was thinking here tonight. And, you draw it up one way, and then it doesn't happen. And that's how this played out tonight. I don't think this will be a trend. This can always happen. We all understand it. I don't think it takes away from what they have in their bullpen. But tonight, we'll address it, obviously. You're asking for trouble when you come on in relief and walk the first 2 batters you face. Like, I don't care if you're Trevor Hoffman, Mariano, Robert Torres, Jeremiah Estrada, guys that have put together really good years. But you are asking for trouble when you do that, especially against bad teams, because you're just giving them additional life. And Estrada didn't allow anything hard hit, nothing. But he did allow 2 walks. That's on him. You allow those walks, you're almost asking for trouble. Sometimes you can work out of it. Good pitchers like Jeremiah Estrada, Robert Torres, others in this bullpen, they're going to work around it sometimes, where other guys wouldn't be able to do it. And then, Alec Jacobs has been terrific for this team in limited duties, and he allows a run as well. And all of a sudden, a 2-1 lead turns into a deficit, and then the Rockies start making defensive plays. I thought the play that was made on Profar was absolutely terrific by Doyle in center field, taking any signs of life away from the Padres. There were two late moments that, you thought briefly, hey, maybe this will change the game around. It was Profar who, off the bat, I thought it was gone. I mean, I was certain it was gone. The pitcher thought it was gone, and Doyle makes that play basically over the wall. I mean, if Doyle's not there, it's a home run, and it'll happen. So could be a big factor. Yeah, 5-2, 5-3, you're still trailing either way. But again, the margin gets thinner. You start to believe. Then the ninth inning, again, the Padres have had some of these moments, the walk-offs, the rallies, the 10th inning, where in the ninth inning, you get a base runner on Cronenworth. Now, it looks like the game's over on a ground ball to first that touches first base, but Jackson Merrill gets a do-over because the plate umpire, it's non-reviewable, said it was a foul ball. And the plate umpire has the call before it hits the bag, and then the first base umpire has the call once it hits the bag. Well, the home plate umpire never saw it hit the bag. I mean, it barely touched. It grazed the bag, but it did on replay hit the bag. And you're thinking, you know what? Merrill reaches. You got the tying around the plate here in the ninth inning, but it just wasn't meant to be. And, the Padres are 2-6 against the Colorado Rockies. It's nowhere near good enough. Everyone understands that. I'm sure everyone in the clubhouse understands that as well. I'll have more of an assessment on where, it's hard to go completely off the deep end with a loss to Colorado when they can still win the series. We've seen the Padres lose game ones and then definitively win a pair of games. You say, you know what? You take it. I mean, if the Padres win on Saturday and Sunday, then you're 4-1 on a homestand and you are 11-3 over 14 games. And I cannot lose sleep. I've been saying routinely, I've said it here on the wrap-up show, I've said it on our radio show, you're not going 15-0 when you play 15 games against the Tigers and White Sox and Rockies and Marlins. Like, that doesn't happen. So it's the big leagues. As bad as the Rockies are, they're still winning what? I don't know what percent of the time, 35, 40% of the time. They're 40-70 coming in. It's a horrific record, but, they're not the White Sox. It's not like they're winning at a 250 clip. And for whatever reason, and this has played out in other seasons as well, the Rockies can do this to the Padres. It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it makes a lot of sense. Now, Gomber's numbers against the Padres in his career are excellent. He's made 15 appearances, 11 starts. He's got like a 3 ERA. He had owned Machado. Machado homers off him. Machado doubled off him. So Machado had a big night. Solano is in there because it's a lefty. He homers. But again, like solo home runs, if you're Colorado, you can live with them. And if you're San Diego, you're hoping for more than just a couple of solo home runs. But Austin Gomber goes 7 innings, and then you don't really see the Rockies bullpen. Rockies bullpen's awful. Nobody in that bullpen is a sub-4 ERA other than the dude that pitched in the ninth inning. He's even blown a couple saves in, 5 or 6 tries this year. And you let these starters go 7 innings, and things like this are possible. You have their bullpen enter a game in a 6th inning as opposed to an 8th inning, and you're giving yourself a lot more opportunities to potentially come through. But, you look at this, 5 hits, 0 for 4 with men in scoring position, a couple of solo home runs. You're at home in front of 45,000 people, and it's not good enough even against bad teams to win is the point. It's not to say it's not good enough. Like, the Padres will find ways to win even with their offense isn't scoring 6 runs. I think they can hold leads with their bullpen, but it wasn't good enough tonight against Colorado for the reasons that we talked about. And 5 hits is, again, I said it all day long. I said be on alert, be aware. The circumstances here, this is tailor-made for something not to go well. Coming off the high of a Dodger series, the natural human reaction to kind of have that hangover effect. And then Austin Gomber, who's been really good. Donovan Solano, the home run. Machado, 2 extra base hits. That's your offense. That was it. I mean, that was your offense here tonight if you're a Padres fan. So we're just getting started. Make your way in. We are here. We are the home of Real Padres Talk. John with you. Jim on his way to Zurich, Switzerland for his honeymoon. And we'll get to your super chats. Thank you for smashing the like button for us. Thank you for your support. And again, if you want me to get to the super chats, just click the $ below the chat box, like was done here by Run It Back. Thank you, Run It Back, for the first super of the night. He says, why pinch hit for Solano and not Kim instead? I don't even remember the circumstance, how it played out. Was that in the 8th inning or the 9th inning? I mean, if you're going to pinch hit with Luis Ariz, I completely understand it. I mean, Luis Ariz is a professional hitter. Luis Ariz is fully capable of getting on base. It's not the difference, obviously, in winning this game or not. In pinch hitting for Donovan Solano as opposed to Ha-Seong Kim, I understand. We haven't really talked a ton, I would say, on the show, especially over the last month, about Ha-Seong Kim and the season he's put together. Again, you look at the WAR and it would tell you that he's an impactful player, and he is. But just offensively, obviously, there's been moments, there's been a number of them, but hasn't hit for average, and didn't come through here tonight. He wasn't the only one though. Jurickson Profar was hitless in this game. Yes, he nearly homered. Jackson Merrill was hitless in this game. Kyle Higashioka didn't have a hit. Kim was 0 for. Bogarts, who's been terrific since returning, was 0 for as well. So you're going to have nights like that. There's no fault here in pinch hitting Donovan Solano with Luis Ariz. I think Mike Schill has a good pulse on this team, and I think has been a very good in-game manager. Maybe not perfect. I mean, I know he hasn't been perfect, but in terms of fault, like, think about this, guys. Like, in terms of fault here tonight, I mean, offense has to score more against Gomber, even though Gomber has fared well against the Padres. And tonight, 100 pitches in 7 innings, you'd like to see him work more than that, obviously. Vasquez goes 85 pitches through 5. Could he have started another inning? But that's kind of the point of having this depth and having this bullpen. Like, you shouldn't need to stretch him. You should go to this, all these high leverage pieces, the Jeremiah Estradas, the Robert Torreses, the Jason Adams, you get it, right? The Tanner Scotts. So, this is kind of a classic example of, you kind of take the responsibility away from the manager when you've got a bullpen like this. Now, could you argue you should have gone to Adam before Estrada? Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can argue, it's easy to be Monday morning quarterback here, and I have no problem doing it. But there's no reason to think that Jeremiah Estrada isn't capable of coming through in that spot. Now, we know Estrada's been later in games. He's been more of an 8th inning guy, but you've bolstered in your back end, which gives you the flexibility to use someone like Jeremiah Estrada, which you never would have done in the first half of the season. I mean, maybe, there's no real reason why you would do it, but now, because it's a strength, you can unleash guys that are capable of pitching 8th and 9th innings in these 6th and 7th innings, which should be advantage to the Padres. It just didn't work out, and that's not on Mike Schill. Now, I don't know how many batters Estrada ended up facing in this game. It was over the minimum, obviously. He faced 7. So he faced a number of batters. He's been reliable. He's had a couple of blow-ups. I think he was, I'd have to look at the numbers. You guys could find him. But he was more reliable early than he's been at times here. I don't know, since I think he had an episode, was it with COVID, or he had a sickness in there, where he missed some time. And, he was kind of herky-jerky in there a little bit as he recovered from that. I know he lost a lot of weight. I thought he recovered nicely, and then had a night like tonight where, 3 soft hits, 3 runs, but the walks are what hurt you. He got some swings and misses eventually, but he was done in by the walks. The soft contact will happen. That's possible. Even with guys that get swings and misses, it's possible someone puts a bat on a ball and it ends up in no man's land. That's going to happen. You can give up a run that way. Everyone understands it. But again, he put himself in that spot, unfortunately, by issuing not just a leadoff walk, which is a cardinal sin in a 1-run game, but back-to-back walks to start his outing in the 6th inning. And you are crossing your fingers and you are crossing your toes and you are praying. If you're a Padres fan in that moment, that's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, this is it's cliche. You're playing with fire is what you're doing in that spot. And credit to the Rockies. They came through. And again, I think if that's what you're going to do, if you're going to come on and issue walks to the first 2 batters faced in a 1-run game, you're going to allow runs in a lot of those games, even with the bullpen that the Padres have amassed here in 2024. So, long way of saying that, I'm not putting this on Mike Schill here tonight. Estrada didn't get it done, which is going to happen with all relievers over the course of a season. And from there, the offense didn't come back to, bail out Estrada and the bullpen. Nick P., thank you for the, maybe it's a super sticker. It doesn't show up in our software. Appreciate the super chat. If there's a comment you have, you can follow up. I'll see if I can pull that up for you here tonight. But again, please subscribe, and thank you for the super chats. You can click the $ below the chat box. I mean, Omar, and I appreciate the comment. I haven't really kept up with the live chat here, but I just saw this that rolled in. But here's the thing, Omar. I'm John and Jim's Jim. So I'm going to do what John does, and Jim's going to do what Jim does. And I'm not going to be Jim, and Jim's not going to be John. I'm just going to be real, authentic, and honest and transparent. Destroy him for what? Oh, wait. Destroy him for what? I'll wait. Comment in the chat. Give me a reason to destroy Mike Schilt tonight. Like, I'm not going to lose credibility because people are mad that the Padres lost a game 5-2. You want me to go freak out and say season's over? They all the goodwill they did against the Dodgers is gone. That 7-2 road trip doesn't matter anymore. Their 22-11 stretch, it's been thrown away because they lost game 1 to the Rockies. That's utter bullshit. So I'm not going to do that. And you pull Estrada after 3 batters, and what? You're guaranteeing to me no run score in the inning? He had put himself in that spot, did he not? Bases loaded, nobody out. So, yeah, you can pull him bases loaded, nobody out. You think a desired outcome is on the other side? Like, does Alec Jacob give you a better chance of getting out of that spot, who came into the game, than Estrada in that spot with the bases loaded and nobody out? Where do you want to go? You want to go to Tanner Scott in the 6th inning with the bases loaded and nobody out? So where are you going to go there? I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. So obvious no command. You can't go anywhere after 2 batters. The 3rd batter reaches on an infield hit. Correct me if I'm wrong. The 4th batter strikes out. So obviously no command. He wasn't done in. The run scored because of the command. He never could have left the game because of the command. It's the first 2 batters. And then the runs came around to score on soft contact. So it's not like, I wouldn't, there's nothing I would do over other than, okay, you could yank Estrada earlier in the inning and you could still lose the game and still be trailing, because there isn't a reliever in baseball, including on the Padres, that is likely to get out of a bases loaded, nobody out spot. The math there, like, go pull up a percentage chart. You can Google it, that says, what are the odds a run scores with the bases loaded and nobody out in an inning? And guess what? It's high, and it's damn high. And you would be asking a lot of Alec Jacob, and that's what you're asking a lot of anyone in that spot, is the point. And can someone get out of it? Of course they can. Anyone can get out of it, and anyone can give up 10 runs in that spot. I think, considering everything that we know about Jeremiah Estrada, like, it's so easy to be like, oh, he didn't have it. Of course he didn't have it. This is on Mike Schilt because he left Jeremiah Estrada in the game. You know how good Jeremiah Estrada has been 9 out of 10 times for the Padres this year? Like, sometimes you got to have faith in your players. And what does it say to Estrada and the bullpen if he's doing all that work for you all season long and he doesn't get a 4th batter just in this one game where he, quote unquote, doesn't have it or doesn't have command per Omar? Like, sometimes you're going to have to stick with guys and they're going to have to work themselves out of jams. Like, that's just how the sport works. And I think Jeremiah Estrada, truthfully, has earned that opportunity. Did it work out tonight? Did he come through? No. But now what are you going to do? DFA him? Put him in AAA? Or are you going to turn to him again tomorrow night, potentially? Maybe not tomorrow. I don't know how many pitches he threw. But on Sunday, they're going to turn to him again. And because they're going to need him to be a leverage reliever, is the way I look at it. All right, Murray, thank you, man. Appreciate your super chat. He says, Padres managers live and die with bullpens and got burned. Guys, again, this is very Monday morning quarterbacking is what it is, and which is completely fine. Every team over the course of 162 is going to lose games with their bullpen. So, okay, let's go through some hypotheticals. Vasquez throws 85 pitches. You say, well, he should start the 6th inning. So Vasquez starts the 6th inning, and let's say the first 2 reach in the 6th inning. What is everyone saying here tonight if the Padres lose? Why on earth, with this bullpen, is Randy Vasquez being given a leash after throwing 5 innings of 1 run and going 85 pitches when you have Tanner Scott and Jason Adam and Jeremiah Estrada and whomever else in your bullpen, right? That's what everyone would say. So you can't win there if that happens. And then what do people say if they, after 3 batters to Estrada, went to Alec Jacob and run scored? Then who's it on? Is it still on Schilt? Because there's a 3-batter minimum. Or at what point is it actually just on the players that didn't come through? And that happens, and that's reasonable and fair and will occur. You know, guys that hit 400 over the course of a season aren't always going to come through in the clutch, right? Jerkson Profar's come through a lot for this team. He doesn't always come through. Jackson Merrill's come through a lot for this team. Manny Machado recently, over the last 30-plus games, has come through a lot for this team. They don't always come through. But, sometimes players perform. You live and die with players. I don't think anything Schilt did matchup dependent tonight or string pulled cost them the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. That one, Homie's Garage, I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. He says, I know they were due for a bad game, but why always the Rockies? Shake my head. I'm with you there. I mean, the struggles. Listen, could we all be having a conversation in 2 months about going 4-9 against the Rockies and being on the outside looking in? Is that a possibility? And then saying, man, they're on the outside because of how they played against the Rockies? Yes. Like, yes, truthful, accurate, 100% fair statement. That is definitely a possibility. It's also possible they win the next 2 games against the Rockies, play well at Coors Field coming up in a couple of weeks, and they don't go 4-9 against the Rockies, and they turn this thing around and somehow win 4 of the next 5 games, and all of a sudden it doesn't look as bad as it looks today. Nobody knows how it's going to finish. I don't know if they lose the last 5 games of the season series, which would be an utter disaster, because then you'd be, what, 2-11 against the Rockies this year? You're asking for trouble, obviously, if that were to play out. I don't expect that to play out. But yeah, I mean, their struggles against the Rockies are real and well documented and costly potentially. Now, did this game cost them anything? Of course not. They're in a fight. They're in a fight right now to reach the postseason. We've said it for weeks on end. They're good play. They haven't fully been rewarded for it. These teams around them have played well. Talking about, not necessarily Atlanta, but Atlanta, started strong, has tailed off. They're right next to the Padres essentially in the standings. But look at Arizona. Arizona's played great. The Mets have really picked it up over the last 2 months. We know that. So it could, of course, be costly. But, in this moment, this one game, it's going to happen. Like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. By the way, I even think Jim would have been quasi-reserved tonight. I really do. Because you got to be like honest with yourself. Like when you go 9-3 out of the All-Star break and to come on here and pretend like it's the end of the world and the sky's falling and they wasted the biggest opportunity in franchise history, that's not what happened. What happened is they're 9-3 in their last 12 games, that maybe they wasted opportunity to gain a game on LA. They did, but guess what? The Dodgers lost tonight to Oakland. The Dodgers have really been struggling. They still are in a playoff position. I understand it's a half game or a game on a playoff position. Everything matters. All these games are going to matter. And I've been saying through the off day and now here throughout the course of today, I said, I know what's going to happen if the Padres lose a game in this series. People are going to freak out because they're going to say, look at the lowly Rockies. You have to sweep them. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work that way in the major leagues. The Rockies, as bad as they are, average winning more than 1 out of every 3 games, which means they average, taking a game in a 3-game series. And I'm going to stay true to the idea that you need to consistently win series against bad teams, which they still can do. Now, my thought process is going to change if they come out and lose tomorrow with Martin Perez on the mound. It can absolutely change. And then all of a sudden, your antennas are raised even more if they lose the first 2 games of the series, and then they're in danger of getting swept again by the Rockies at home. But I don't know if they're going to win or lose tomorrow. I don't know how Martin Perez is going to pitch. I don't know what the offense is going to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So truthfully, that one, Homies Garage, I kind of agree that we're due for a letdown game. You wish it wasn't against the Colorado Rockies, because that becomes concerning that you're 2-6 against the Rockies, that you've lost 5 straight games to Colorado, that you've lost, I think, 4 consecutive home games to them. It's not a good trend. None of that is a good trend or a good development. But just because that's a factual statement doesn't mean that, Mike Schilt blew it tonight for the Padres, and here's why. I think that's just a hot take that's not really warranted. Moy says, thank you. He says, please excuse us, John. The rap is angry. I understand it. People are all in, and they should be. This is your team. You're there every single night. It's your money. It's your time. It's my time too. So I get it. I'm watching it just like you're watching it. All right. I am watching it just like you're watching it. And we can have a difference of opinion on it. That's completely fair. And on its face, losing to the Rockies is not ideal. There's no question about it. So what they need to do is win the next 2 games, which, by the way, is not easy when you consider this turn through the rotation may or may not include Michael King, who today told the media he hasn't thrown his bullpen this week, may not start on Sunday. I don't see how he does start on Sunday, truthfully. So let's get back to this conversation in a moment. I do want to remind our viewers about our title sponsor here on the Wrap-Up Show. We can't do this without you guys here live or on replay. We can't do this without our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance, who is a lifelong Padres fan, a native San Diegan, a huge supporter of the channel. We have been doing this, basically following, 90% of Padres games, either on the radio or YouTube, for 5 years. We've been on YouTube for each of the last 3 years. We got on, I think, August, September of 2021. So you're right at 3 years, something like 36 months. And Mark's been with us for 36 months. We never get this thing off the ground without Mark. So I always say, if you support the channel, support Mark Nimitz too, because he's a wonderful insurance agent. Take it from me, homeowners, life, earthquake. I've got those 3 policies through Mark. He does auto. Switch your policy, could save you $750 or more. He's a great agent because if you ever need him, he's there for you. I had to file a claim. He took care of everything, saved us time and money. If you have to do the same, he's going to take care of everything. He's going to make it simple and easy. Trust me. A number of you have worked with Mark over the years. He is a marvelous insurance agent. So click the link in the description down below or call Mark. His contact information is on the screen, or click the link in the description down below. And again, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. What am I doing here? Trying to figure out the software without Jim. Is the title sponsor of the wrap-up show. Give him a call. He'll talk to you about the Padres. He'll talk to you about saving money on your insurance as well. So thank you, Mark, for your longtime support of the channel. Let's reset things here for a moment. We got plenty of time. I'm not going anywhere. If you guys want to react, again, click the $sign below the chat box. I will fully react to it. If you're here, please subscribe. We've had a ton of you subscribe over the last week or so as this team has taken off. Please subscribe. We'd love to get to 6,700 subscribers, which is kind of crazy to think about considering where it was when we got this thing off the ground and how it's been built by you guys, right? From the ground up, by Padres fans, by baseball fans. So if you're here right now, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, we're about 40 or so subscribers away from 6,700. We could use your support and your help. So please do subscribe, and thank you for those super chats. Click the $sign below the chat box. Padres lose to the Rockies at Petco 5-2 in front of a massive crowd at Petco Park on a Friday night. Okay, this is interesting. This is, it's so funny you say this, Keaton. So Keaton, thank you for the super. He says, Estrada's been nasty, but why is he working Southwest baggage today? LMAO, couldn't they do that on an off day? That's got to be tiring, LOL. So I saw that little vignette, I think they call it, or feature that they put up on TV. And I forget when they showed that. Was that before Estrada had pitched in the game when they showed that little feature? Or was it after he had left the game and they were trailing? I forget. And someone put that in the chat because I was kind of thinking the same thing. I mean, listen, it was a photo op. They threw a bag. They took some tickets at the gate. Part of a Padres Southwest partnership, obviously, between the company Southwest and the franchise, the San Diego Padres. In their deal, clearly, is let's do some type of volunteer PR day with a couple of Padres players. It'll end up on news. It'll be in the, I don't know, it'll be in news and on television, and it's goodwill. And it's good for all parties. Your timing's not ideal. I'm with you. When you're doing something like that, you kind of hope to win a game like that, or maybe you do it on an off day. Yeah, it doesn't. Is it the greatest look in the world? No, it's probably not. Truthfully, was I thinking about it during the broadcast? Yeah, to be honest, I was. I was thinking about it. So it was kind of I don't know. Funny's not the right word. Like you said, LMAO. It's not funny because you want to see this team win. And did did Jeremiah Estrada's ineffectiveness have anything to do with him working, Terminal 2 gates? I don't think so. I don't think that's what's played out here today. That would be pretty surprising to me. It didn't seem to be a factor. Saying, ma'am, he was over the airport today. I mean, consider what these guys actually go through just to be available, 162 times a year. Obviously, that's not the case with the relievers. They're down sometimes, but they're traveling through the night. There's long days. There's bumps and bruises. They're going through a lot. So obviously nothing tonight had anything to do with them appearing in some PR campaign for Southwest Airlines. But again, is it kind of ironic or funny in a non-ha-ha funny way? Yeah, kind of. And I did think that in watching the game a little bit here tonight. I'm just trying to see if anyone in the chat is saying when that happened. Yeah, I don't know when that occurred, but yeah, it's probably not ideal. Yeah, I don't think that had anything to do with it. How he pitched here tonight. In terms of again how this thing plays out. Again, I thought that. Again, I don't know. Vasquez, 85 pitches, 5 innings. When you consider where he was 5 days ago, which was the worst outing of the season for him, and that huge blow-up inning where he had some command issues and Baltimore scored 6 runs off him in 1 inning, didn't they? And, he didn't go near 5 innings in that game. I don't think I can ask for more than 5. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Randy Vasquez didn't get the start of the 6th inning, even if he had thrown fewer than 85 pitches. 85 pitches isn't some crazy number for 5 innings. What is that? That's 17 pitches an inning, which is a tick high. You want to be at 15 pitches an inning as a starter. That allows you to go through 6 innings on 90 pitches, 7 on 105. Like, there's your threshold. That's where you want to be sitting, 14, 15 pitches an inning. And you are in really solid position to go 6 innings in the start, right? Because all these guys have the ability to go 90 plus pitches, especially this time of year. You go 6 innings, it's a quality start. You've set up your bullpen, and you can navigate your way through the final 9 outs. But with Vasquez as your 4th starter, we'll see how this all plays out. Does Joe Musgrove return? He could ultimately be your 5th starter. I think with your 5th starter and with this bullpen, he could have gone 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks on 75 pitches, 10 fewer pitches. I still think they may have been inclined in that moment to turn it over to their bullpen because of all the reasons we've talked about. They didn't play, Thursday? I'm doing the math on this. Yeah, they didn't play Thursday. They didn't play Monday. They don't play this next Monday. This is the purpose of having off days. Utilize them and use them to your advantage. This is the purpose of having one of the deeper bullpens in the sport. In theory, on paper, they need to execute it. That you can unleash them for an extra inning. You're off on Monday. You were off on Thursday. Your starting pitching has been excellent from guys like Dylan Cease and Michael King and Matt Waldron. You're not taxing your bullpen. You're likely not going to be asking Robert Suarez to go for 5 outs because you have Tanner Scott. You're likely not asking Jeremiah Estrada to go 4 or 5 outs because you have Jason Adam. So when given a lead, that is when you do unleash. And it didn't work. Here's the good news. It's not game 1 of the wild card series. It's not game 1 of the NLDS. Here's the bad news. They need to get to game 1 of the wild card series. They need to get to game 1 of the NLDS. This reminds me a little bit what happened here tonight. And you're like, oh my gosh, this bullpen, here we are, man. Get ready, right? Pop the popcorn, sit down on the couch. It's the 6th inning. I can't wait to watch this bullpen unleashed on a bad team like Colorado. Man, we're going to win every single time we play with a 1-run lead. Nobody's scoring off this bullpen, right? Sometimes, you've had all this change, all this movement, all this discussion, all this talk, and then it doesn't play out the way you had hoped that it would play out. And then everyone is immediately like, oh my gosh, what happened? They got 50-plus games still left in the regular season. 51, I think, is the number. They'll settle into these roles and be highly effective. That's my guess. Could I be wrong? Yes. That's my guess. Give it a series. Watch them settle into their new roles. Guys are going to be asked to do different things. I mean, Estrada's not pitching a lot of 6th innings this year since he's become the pitcher that they've counted on him to be. We don't know how they're going to utilize Tanner Scott, Jason Adam. So, let's see how this thing develops. Let's see how they utilize. Let's see what the overall strategy is. Let's let these guys get comfortable, right? And Estrada should be comfortable here. But let's let these guys get comfortable in their roles, and then let's see if they can become the dominant, relievers that they should be. And all of a sudden you look up and over a 10-game stretch, San Diego's bullpen's got a .9 ERA. Let's hope for that, as opposed to the opposite, which is like, well, they're putting these guys out of position and it's good on paper, but they've had setbacks and taken step backs. We can't say that off one game. Like, we can't say that off tonight. That's not how this sport works. ERAs are based on 162 games. Batting averages are based on 162 games. You know what I mean? Like, nobody says at the end of the opening day, oh my gosh, Profar's hitless. He's going to hit 100 this year. Or Joe Musgrove allowed a run. You get the point. Like, it plays out over a period of time, not over any one game. As frustrating and disappointing as it is to be in this position against the Rockies, which it is, and even without tonight, it's been frustrating and disappointing against the Rockies. Even if they won tonight, they're 3-5 against Colorado. They're actually 2-6, but you got my point. It's not like they've played the Rockies well, even if they had won here tonight. So what's played out against the Rockies is flat out frustrating. They blew a 5-run lead in Denver. They got swept at home. That's unacceptable. What happened tonight, unacceptable is probably a stretch for me. how it played out tonight, based on everything that we've kind of talked about here over the last 30 plus minutes. All right, let's get to some of these super chats, guys. Appreciate them. If you want to make sure I see your comment here tonight, you can click that $ below the chat box. I'll make sure to get to your super chats here tonight. Friday night edition of the wrap-up show. If you're here on replay, we appreciate the super thanks as well. Padres 59-52. We'll take a look at those wild card standings momentarily. Colorado 41-70. They're actually coming off a road series win, their second of the year. It was in Anaheim, the other right here in San Diego. They're looking for back-to-back road series wins should they win either Saturday or Sunday at Petco. That one, Homie's Garage. Thank you. He says, Xander plays defense like a grandpa. Listen, I've seen some of the commentary on Xander. I've watched Xander obviously play in the field throughout the course of this year and switching positions. You've heard me say probably before, especially someone like you, because you're here all the time in the chat, that like, I don't overreact typically to defense. I just don't. You know, I'll take offense over defense by and large. Doesn't always work out. You can lose games based on defense. We've seen it happen, but by and large, I'll take the offense. What I've seen from Xander today withstanding is a much more productive player at the plate. And that's what I'm concerned about. I understand it all matters. It all counts. It's all a factor. You know, he's in his 30s. Even when he was playing short, he's never been known as a great defender. There have been times where he's been a good defender. There's been times where he's been an average defender. There's times where it doesn't look great, but he makes it work. So I don't, you know, he's had the fracture, obviously, that happened this year. I think all things considered with Xander, I'm just pleased with where he's been able to get like his OPS, the way he's consistently swung the bat. Again, today was standing because he was 0 for 4. So I think when you add it all up with Xander Bogarts, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you got to be pleased. I mean, beyond pleased with the productivity that Xander has provided since coming back that final series of the first half against Atlanta. Like you go back to that moment to today, and he's been really productive and really valuable and helped you win games. Now we're going to need to see more of it. And, you know, his career here isn't going to be based on 17 games or whatever that number is, 15 games, whatever the number is. He's got to close this season out well. He does, because I have no idea on Fernando Tatis Jr. We talked to Kevin Acee today on John and Jim, and I still don't think there's an actual like timetable. I know AJ Preller recently said that Musgrove and Toddy are more week to week than day to day. I think he said that with, who was that? Wandy Peralta maybe as well. So because of that, you need guys like Xander Bogarts to pick up some of that slack. You need Manny to continue to be the player that he's been, which has been very productive over the last, I think it was since the Phillies game when he said, you know, he had that post-game comment to Kevin where he said, like, I'm frustrated and I'm going to figure this out, even if I have to blow out my elbow again in the process. And we're all like, yo. And that's when they'd fallen like 3 games under 500 again. And they'd lost 5 straight. And it did not look good. I mean, the thing was teetering in that exact moment. And I think that moment and game coincides with the last 34 games where they're now 22-12, where they've gone from, I think that's right, they were 3 under to 7 over is 22-12. So I'm 90-something% sure that's basically who they've been, something like 22-12. I think it's accurate. Since that Phillies loss, remember they beat Ranger Suarez behind Matt Waldron in an afternoon game where they were significant underdogs, looking at a 6th consecutive loss, looking at a 6-game road losing streak or that 0-6 road trip. And they've turned their season around since then. Like that's who they've been. So that's why I'd rather, and guys, you know me, you know how critical I can be. You know how unbiased I can be. You know how willing I am to offer my educated opinion on it through my experiences with it. But it's not based on everything that I've watched and everything that I know and everything in like my being. I think the 22-12 is more reflective of this team than losing tonight 5-2. I don't know what's going to happen on the other side. I've been fooled before on this team. They've had moments where they've gotten a few games over 500 and dropped immediately back to 500 or below. You know, this time they got some separation. They got to a season high 8 games over 500. Right now they're 7 at 59-52. Nobody wants to see them give it all away. And I don't think, and I hope I'm right, I can't predict the future, nor can anyone. I don't think they're in a spot where they should or will give it all back. Why? A couple of reasons. A, the schedule. These next 14 games, you have opportunities. Now, have they taken advantage of it against a team like Colorado? No. But they've got some opportunities here. Hopefully they take advantage of over the next 15 games. Shoot, it's not just the 15 games. Look at it afterwards. There are seasons where the Padres are playing, the Dodgers 9 times in the second half of the season. Now you got 51 games left. They've one series left against LA. You still have the Tigers and the White Sox and the Rays and the Giants. Yeah, we'll see about the Giants. But an old friend, Blake Snell, throwing that no here tonight. But it's just set up where you don't even have to play, terrific, and they could still hopefully keep themselves in position where they're staying 5, 6, 7, 8 games over 500. We'll continue that conversation. We'll talk about this wild card race, what's to come this weekend as well. I do want to remind our viewers about our good friends at MOVA Globes. Great company. I think Michael's in the chat or has been in the chat here tonight. He works with MOVA Globes. It's really, they have unbelievable products, including these officially licensed Major League Baseball globes, including the Padres. This technology invented right here, Cardiff by the Sea in San Diego. They spin based on artificial light or natural light. They have magnets in these puppies. I don't fully understand how they work, but they do, and they are magnificent. I just had my neighbor in here a couple of days ago, and he was like enamored by them. So they've got the officially licensed MOVA Globes. They have Planet MOVA Globes, and they have so much more. And you can take advantage right now of a great offer, 10% off. Use promo code PWS10. That is PWS10, PWS10. Click the link in the description down below and check them out. I'll pull up the website on screen here in a moment. Look at me. I'm like a one-man band. Let's see. Let's pull up some MOVA Globes for our viewers here tonight. A number of you have seen them, but there they are. There's 6 of them spinning on the screen right now. Really cool collection, officially licensed, 10% off if you take advantage right now by clicking the link in the description down below. Promo code is PWS10. That's PWS10. You're going to love them. Your family's going to love them. Great keepsake, desk item, birthday, gift for the baseball fan in your life. So if you've been thinking about taking advantage, now is the time. Click that link in the description down below and use promo code PWS10. That is PWS10. Thank you to Where You At Productions. Guys, if you're here, subscribe. And if you're here, thank you for the super chats. Just click that $sign below the chat box. And I will get to every single super chat here tonight. Okay, so Where You At Productions saying these are games you can't lose, especially with the D-backs and Mets playing so well. All right, let's pull up. 1 second. Let's pull up the wild card standings right now in the National League. And it's crowded and it's competitive. So this is what it looks like right now. The Padres are in a virtual tie for the final wild card spot with the Mets. So they're in a tie. Forget about it, because they'll all play the same number of games at the end. Arizona is a half game ahead of both the Mets and the Padres. And then you've got St. Louis 2.5 games behind the Mets and the Padres, and Pittsburgh 3 games back, San Fran 4 games back. So this is what it means. As we sit here right now, and things can change. As we sit here right now, you're looking at 4 teams for 3 spots, with a couple of teams still very much in it, but on the outside in St. Louis, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, even the Cubs. But let's just say St. Louis, Pittsburgh, San Francisco. But we've said this a lot. You've heard me say this, that out of Atlanta, Arizona, New York, San Diego, someone's on the outside looking in. You've also heard me say a lot, the biggest sucker in baseball is going to be the team that is on the outside looking in. The first team out in the NL wildcard race is going to be like, wow. There's going to be some wrath from fan bases. There's going to be ramifications for front offices and executives, and it's not going to be a good look. Now, the National League has turned it on a little bit over the last month, and you've got teams that we thought, 82 wins, you're going to the postseason. That's not the case now. It might take 85 or more wins to get to the postseason. It could take 86 or 87 wins to get to the playoffs. So the general point is a valid one, which is you can't lose when you're in a fight for your playoff lives. But it's not like there are 2 games to play and you just lost game 1 to the Rockies and now you're on the outside looking in. That's when you can't lose, right? Like, that's when you can't lose. When there's 3 games left and you waste an opportunity to pull even in a wild card race or get a game up, there's a ton of baseball. I mean, I always like, we think that everything is such a big deal. Every win is so big. Every loss is so, magnified as well. And they are, and they all matter. And at the end of the season, if you miss by 2 games, you can always say these are the 2 games. Or if you make it by 1 game, you say this is the game we made it by. But think about it this way. 51 games is 3 NFL regular seasons. And in any one regular season, teams make up 1, 2, 3 games all the time. Kansas City could start 0-1, be 1 game out in their division with 16 to play and win their division by 5 games. And that's in a 17-game season. My point is this. As much as it is a sprint right now, there's 51 games. They have opportunities. They don't need to capitalize on all of them. So in a sense, you can't lose these games, but it's more like what I said earlier, which is you don't want to lose series. You can lose games. You, quote unquote, can't lose series. But of course, that's not accurate either. If the Padres happen to lose this series, then what? If they go 1-1 in the next 2 games and they're a half game behind the Mets, then what? Season's over? Going to look back and say that did them in? No, maybe not is the point. Because then what happens if they go to Pittsburgh and Miami and go 5-1 or 1-5? Let's say they win the next 2 games. That didn't make their season either. Because then they go to Pittsburgh and Miami, and what if they go 2-4? So it all matters is the point, right? Like every single one of them matters. The good, the bad, the ugly all matters, but you can't get carried away with any one game either way. I mean, and we say that all the time, and we do. I mean, that's the beauty of doing something like this day in and day out. Of course, you're going to get excited. Of course, there's a level of fandom. But, for as good as it was, like that 9-2 stretch, and you're beating the Guardians and the Orioles and the Nats and the Dodgers, they only put themselves in a position where, and we said this routinely, we weren't selling some false hope. We said routinely, yeah, the good news is they're creating some separation from 500. They're putting themselves in position, but any bad series and you could drop out of the playoff. You could drop out of wild card positioning after a bad series or a bad week. So that's the way to look at it. I'd say glass half full. They've played good baseball. They're 22-12 in their last 34 games. They put themselves in a position where they can absolutely get in, not just get in. They could be the top wild card. They could win this division. Like nothing has changed in the division since we all freaked out 2 nights ago and we're like, the Padres can win the division. Nothing's changed. Dodgers lost tonight to the A's. Like Dodgers have not played well. Padres have run laps around them recently. Padres recent play, last 10, 12 games, Padres have played a lot better than the Dodgers. Both teams dealing with injuries. Dodgers have not played well. Have lost 3 straight. And that's the deal. That's the deal. What else, guys, would you like me to get to? I'm happy to get to anything you'd like me to get to while we have a moment, and put it in the chat, and I'll do my best to get to it, whether it's a super or not. I'll take a look at the chat. Do want to remind you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to use promo code PODSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. Get that free special pick with our promo code by clicking the link in the description down below. Plus a 50% first-time deposit match. You deposit $50, they'll give you a free $25. If you deposit $500, they'll give you a free $250, or anywhere in between. That's their largest offer ever in terms of a $250 first-time deposit offer. It is simple, easy, and fun. I texted Jim actually last night at a $50 winner yesterday. And again, use promo code PODSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. The pick'ems are so simple and easy. I hit on a 3-pick flex, which means I only needed to get 2 out of 3 right. And I hit with 2 golf plays. I think I talked about it on the wrap-up show 2 nights ago. I played Xander Schauffele in like round 1 of the Olympics. I played, I don't even know, John Rahm, I'm making it up, or Tommy Fleetwood. And then I threw something else in there. I hit all 3 of them. And I think I turned $10 into $50, won 5 times my money with a simple, easy pick 'em at Underdog Fantasy. You can do the exact same thing. Jim's had a couple of $500 wins. I've had $1 million, $40, $50 wins. You can too. Use promo code PODSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. And you can, again, click that link in the description down below, or scan the QR code right up there. Scan it on your phone right up there. If you're watching on your laptop or an iPad, if you're watching on your phone, you can't scan it, but you can click that description down below and get to UnderdogFantasy.com. Let me see here. Let me get caught up in the chat. JD Gacho, appreciate you, man. Always do. By the way, it's great to see a lot of people today. A lot of people came down. We do Friday home game broadcast, John and Jim, on 760 from Naughty Barrel, downtown 9th and Market. And we caught up with a number of people that came up to us during the broadcast throughout the course of the 3 hours beforehand, afterwards as well. Really cool. Thank you for doing that. I know a lot of you guys are listening on the radio or watching the wrap-up show or watching John and Jim. We can't do it without your support. We do appreciate your support now more than ever of our radio show, John and Jim. So if you've never checked us out, John and Jim, please do. San Diego Sports 760, iHeartRadio app. We're on YouTube. Just search for John and Jim 760. We talk as much Padres there as we do here. So if you haven't checked out the radio show, we would appreciate it if you did that for us as well. JD Gacha says, of course, Blake Snell throws a no-hitter baseball. I mean, you're not kidding about baseball. From where Snell was to start the year to where he is recently, where he's like the third pitcher in baseball history to follow up a 15 strikeout performance with a no-hitter, is kind of incredible. But we know what Snell is capable of. We always talked about his stuff, like we've talked about Dylan Cease's stuff, and sometimes it can be unhittable, and other times he's very pedestrian. We've seen it with Cease. He had a 6-8 start stretch where he was very hittable, allowed a lot of home runs. Snell's done this throughout the course of his tenure in the big leagues, whether it's San Diego or this year with San Francisco, where he can look very average and then he can turn it on like he has here. It's not just the last 2 starts. I think it's now maybe his last 5 starts where he's been basically Dylan Cease-like, and all of a sudden somehow Blake Snell's got a 4.29 ERA. It was, I don't even know where it was, 6s, 7s, not that long ago. It's down to 4.29. Giants, I don't know. I mean, I guess technically hanging around. I mean, the Padres are 7 over and right in the thick of it, and the Giants are 1 under. So long way to go, I would say, for San Francisco. At some point, they'll have to turn it on. Hopefully it doesn't happen. I know the Padres and Giants have at least a couple of series remaining this year against each other that could allow the Giants to get back into it. We, beat around the bush the conversation of, hey, could you go get Snell at the deadline? I mean, compared to Martin Perez, what a win it would be. In theory, it was an unbelievable idea. We were all on board for 2024. He's barely owed anything after the deadline, and you wouldn't think the return would be that significant considering, veteran pitcher. But here's the thing. It's the 2025 is what kills you, because it's a player option that he can absolutely opt into, assuming he will. We'll say maybe he closes the season crazy strong and he gets a better deal on the other side of it. But he opts in. He's going to make 38 next year, and Padres aren't in that position to take that on, nor are most teams. I would say, 28 teams in baseball probably don't want to take on $38 million for Blake Snell, but you know what he is at his best. And what he is at his best is elite. 2-time Cy Young Award winner is impressive alone. And, he's coupled it here tonight with his no-hitter. He's really turned it on over his last 4 or 5 starts. It's something to at least consider here late in the season, that if San Francisco can hang around and you've got Blake Snell, he could be a difference maker or some type of piece to push them over the edge in the final 2 months of the season. I would just say this from San Francisco's perspective I don't think it's too late, but it's a bit of now or never. You either make your run and get 6 games over 500, or all of a sudden you look up September 1st and you've probably dropped another, at some point you get 4, 5, 6 back and you get too late to really make a run. Now you can still make your run. You get into September and you're 6 back, and it's happened. There's examples of teams overcoming 6-game deficits in September, probably even a little more than that. But again, few and far between. That's something that you're going to see every single day. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this up and just, how you guys said like earlier, I don't freak out anyone. Here's the deal, Flipper. Who says you lied. You told me and a lot of people on these boards that you wouldn't forget the little people, the others after you gig. Now you won't reply to any post that doesn't have money. First of all, I'm doing the show alone, so you have no idea of how challenging it is to obviously watch the comments come in the chat and try to communicate with the audience. Secondly, what are you talking about? As I've said routinely, this show is for Padres fans. It is a labor of love, and we're not here because of, we're not doing it to get rich off $5 supers. Like, that hasn't happened, right? I'm not driving a nicer car or like moving out of my home because of the super chats that we've collected on the wrap-up show. That's the last thing in the world. If I wanted to make the money in terms of the time we've put into this, I would actually just get a job and run circles around the money I make doing what I do on the wrap-up show. So we do it because we enjoy doing it and we like to connect with Padres fans. But then every once in a while, there's someone like you that for whatever reason feels like they're entitled to something more that I'm providing to you for free. So here's what I'll do. If you want, you can be cordial and nice and respectful, and I'll leave you on the channel. Or if you want to double down, you know what I'll do? I'll ban you and you'll never be back in the channel, and I won't lose any sleep, nor will Jim while he's in Zurich, Switzerland. So there's 7,000 people here that subscribe. We've had 2 million viewers over the last 3 years. And if you want to be here and respectful and cordial and appreciative, we'd love to have you. Otherwise, get out of here. I don't need you. All right? Sorry. So up to you. You comment. I'll wait for your next comment. Maybe I'll put, what do you guys think I should do? Put it in the chat. Ban them or keep them? You make the call, Flipper. I'll wait for your next comment. You got pretty quiet, didn't you? So you tell me. So actually, here's what I'll do, Flipper. Because here's what I'll do. I'll give you 30 seconds to say something. And if you don't say anything, I'll just ban you. That's easy. So say something. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll wait for you. So you can walk it back, or I'll ban you. It's pretty easy. Or you do nothing. I'll just ban you. Okay. Exactly. And by the way, dude, you do you. You do you. Yeah, exactly. Now he wants to stay. Go. There's other channels that do the same thing I do. I don't care. There's other, do whatever you want to do. I literally could care less. It's almost, you almost enjoy reacting to your absurd comments because I could care less. That's what kind of makes it even funnier. Anyway, listen, people get upset. They lost. They're going to lose again. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. They'll lose again this year. They have 51 games left. Shoot, if they have a 700 winning percentage from here on out, they're going to lose another 15 games. So they're fine, is what I would say. They're fine, is what I would say. And they have work to do as well. But nothing's been determined. Nothing's been determined at all. They've got 51 games to prove their mettle, essentially. They have the roster to do it. They need to get healthier. I think that's a factor. We wait on Musgrove. We wait on King's status. The thing with King, so he took a comebacker, right? He took a liner off his leg. And I think initially they thought no big deal. There was some swelling, so they pushed off his bullpen maybe a day, and that became, I think, maybe a second day. He commented on it. He's like, listen, I feel fine, but we had some bruising, so it prevented me from throwing a bullpen, and I'm not exactly sure what my status is going to be, and they've got TBA Sunday. How do you throw him Sunday if he hasn't thrown a bullpen and it's Friday? You don't throw a bullpen Saturday and throw Sunday. So I'm presuming, maybe he'll throw a bullpen Saturday, Sunday. You're off Monday. You just move him back. That's my guess. Now you have the Joe Musgrove looming out there. Are they really going to take him from a sim game to the major leagues? Doesn't make any sense to me. I think that would be a complete rush. He's not built up. You're putting your bullpen in an undesirable position. You're putting Joe Musgrove in a spot that he shouldn't be, and he's got to get a rehab start, obviously. I think he's probably got to get 2 rehab starts. So, that's my thought process. Again, if there's something that can do in any team, we saw it in 2021 with the Padres. If there's something that can do in truly any team, from the LA Dodgers and their $1 billion payroll binge this offseason to the Padres in 2021, is that injuries are real, and you have to be able to dodge them. And they haven't fully dodged them, and they've gotten, quote unquote, away with that. But you can't suffer more. You can't have King miss, a couple of starts. If you have to skip a turn, you skip a turn. I mean, he's already going to be, he's already working up towards limits, and he's never been in this territory before in terms of how many innings he's going to throw in a season. But he's pitched beautifully. His last 5 starts, I read it today on John and Jim. He's got a sub-2 ERA. He's thrown like an ace, and he's thrown as well as anyone not named Dylan Cease basically over the last month, certainly with the Padres and basically in baseball. So you got to keep someone like him healthy. You got to be concerned about Waldron's innings. Cease has been great. We'll see about Martin Perez, Randy Vasquez, right? It's like, do you have enough? The Perez's, the Vasquez's, the Musgroves. Do you get Darvish? Do you see Brito? Can you make it all add up that you can avoid anything significant really hurting you in the second half of the year. I think offensively they will have enough. Again, tonight doesn't look great, but you'll get Tatis back. Even without him, the offense has been really good. Bullpen has more than enough. So, like, they have the makings of having what they need to play well enough to make the postseason. End of sentence. Like, that's fair. They have enough to put themselves in a position to make the postseason. If they don't, I don't know how we'll fully explain it. I don't know where we'll turn. Will we say, well, they dealt with injuries, or they didn't beat bad teams, or the Diamondbacks went 20-6 down the stretch, and so did the Mets? There's things that can happen. It doesn't typically happen like that. Like I said today on John and Jim, you go 10-5 over these 15 games, now 10-4, and now you're, what is that? 12 games over 500, whatever it is. 13 games over 500. The odds are the Mets, Diamondbacks, Braves aren't also going 10-5 or better. One of them may. Even in theory, two of them, it's unlikely. Three of them is like a 1 in what? What are the odds? Because they might be playing each other. They might have a tougher schedule. Teams go through highs and lows. So, like, the odds are you keep winning at a good clip and you create separation eventually. Now, over this 10-game stretch, it didn't really happen the way you were hoping for it, because Arizona's been good. Mets on the whole have been good. Atlanta's come back to earth, but they're near you. But I'm telling you, you do it again. Like the 9-2 stretch they had out of the All-Star break, they double it up with another 9-2 stretch, and all of a sudden they're not going to be a half game up in a playoff spot. They'll create some separation. They'll get that 2, 3, 4 game cushion that everyone's been hoping for. And now we're sitting on pins and needles waiting for that. Like, we're waiting for them to get that. Can they get 3 games clear of a postseason spot? And right now the answer is no. And it's going to take a little bit of time now after losing tonight. And again, you're tied for the final wild card, and you're not going to be more than a game clear of that after Saturday, not more than probably a game clear of it after Sunday, truthfully. But at some point along the way, by if you have a 10-5 stretch on the heels of what you just did, maybe you create 2, 3, 4 games of separation is what I would say. Let's see here. What else before we go? I mean, we're over an hour. We could go. Again, for those that are just here, if you're here live or on replay, unfortunately, we're not doing it Sunday night. Jim's going to be in Switzerland, and I'm going to be in Palm Springs. So we're going to take Sunday night off in all likelihood, because I don't have the ability to do it. But then we'll get back to it right into the swing of things with the upcoming road trip through Pittsburgh and Miami. We'll be here with you on the wrap-up show. And, of course, we're back on Monday as well on John and Jim San Diego Sports 760 from 3 to 6 p.m. But, again, I'm not panicking, nor should you. If anyone's panicking tonight, then you're overreacting. To be upset, absolutely, you should be. You're a fan. Like, I clearly get that. Like, not showing up, so to speak, for this game one, hoping for a win tonight, completely get it. Wanting more from Jeremiah Estrada, hoping your bullpen can preserve that lead, completely get it. But, I see some of the comments in the chat, and I think a lot of it is fair. By the way, I think 90% of what I've seen in the chat, and I've only seen some of it because I'm doing the show at the same time, I think 90% of it is fair. A lot of it is just being a fan, and then some of it is complete Monday morning quarterbacking a game. Because the reason I say this more of on the players and the bullpen than it is on the manager tonight is that if these guys do what they've done 9 out of 10 times, if Estrada works a scoreless 6th inning, nobody's saying Vasquez should have stayed in the game longer. And then you go to Adam, and then you go like, imagine if it just played out the way everyone thought it would play on their head, including the manager and including everyone that watched the game. There wasn't anyone, I was on social media, there wasn't anyone after 5 innings said they should have stuck with Randy Vasquez when the inning started. I didn't see that. No commentary on that. None whatsoever. So going to Estrada in the 6th inning, there's no reason to be critical of it. He's your second most effective reliever of the season. He didn't get it done. That will happen. Hopefully not often. It happened. Hopefully we don't see it again, truthfully, the rest of the year. He hasn't been fully reliable, but he's been damn good for this team. And tonight was not his night. And if we had it to do over again, you'd do different things. Yeah, if you knew with the benefit of hindsight you're going to lose the game and allow 3 runs in the 6th inning, well, sure. Maybe you try Vasquez. Maybe you go to Jason Adam. Maybe you go to whomever in that spot, Yuki Matsui, whomever. But we don't have the benefit of hindsight. And in the moment, for Randy Vasquez, 5 innings to me was good enough. Turning it over to Jeremiah Estrada with a lead in the 6th inning against the Rockies, to me, is good enough. But it didn't work out. And, blame who you want to blame. But at the end of the day, they lost 5-2. I don't know if it changes based on the managerial decision here tonight, but maybe that's just me. And yeah, I mean, I thought there were a couple of plays that, again, when it's not your night, it's not your night. The profile ball in the 8th inning. Come on, I mean, you get some life maybe, but Brendan Doyle makes that incredible play, and you're thinking, oh, well, this is just not going to be our night for whatever reason. So win Saturday, win Sunday, and to me, it's not a big deal. It's really not. I mean, my expectation is not to sweep series. Like I've said that routinely for years. I mean, you're going to inevitably, to be a good team over the course of a year, you're going to sweep series. You're going to stumble into them. And you should. And sometimes you have to sweep bad teams. No question about it. And they got to be a lot better than 2-6 against the Colorado Rockies. They got 5 more games to do it. Hopefully they're a lot better in those 5 games. Maybe a team like the White Sox will say you got to sweep them because they're 60 games under 500. Outside of that, it's the big leagues, and teams are winning better than 33% of the time, which means they're fully capable of winning 1 out of every 3 games. Go win a series, and you're in fine position is what I would say. What's Flipper's last comment? Moises, thank you. $10 for Flipper. Read Flipper's last comment, John. Okay. What did Flipper say? This? Is this the last comment? Or is it this? What do you want me to read? Just put it in the chat right now. Moises, just copy and paste it. Whatever you want me to read. Yeah. But thank you, Moises. Appreciate you. I lost my train of thought. I had something else I was going to say. I forget what I was going to say. Yeah, the next wrap-up show, well, they don't play again until Tuesday. So the next wrap-up show, unfortunately, is not going to be until Tuesday. Next John and Jim show will be Monday at 3 p.m. Yeah, here's the other thing. Thank you. Thank you, Q50 Bob. All this, you should have stuck with Vasquez. How could you go to Estrada? You left him in too long. They have 5 hits and 2 runs. And that's going to happen when you don't get to a starting pitcher when you've got as bad of a bullpen as the Rockies have. Now, Gomber's good. He hasn't been good this year. He hasn't. But he's been good against the Padres. So, okay, the matchup favors him. Came in, 1 earned run in 11 innings, I want to say, in 2 starts. Today, 7 innings, 2 runs. So 18 innings, 3 runs is a 1.5 ERA, right? He's allowed 3 runs in 18 innings. He's got a 1.5 ERA and 3 starts against the Padres. That's concerning, but that's a good matchup, clearly, for the Rockies and Gomber for whatever reason. But I mean, we can't just excuse it away. Well, it's Austin Gomber. I mean, come on. Other teams have hit Austin Gomber, and then other teams have hit the Rockies bullpen. And again, you didn't get into the meaty part of that bullpen. Their bullpen's been awful. You get to that bullpen an inning earlier, and maybe you find your way to a 3 or 4 run inning, which they've done dozens of times this year. Truly, I mean, they've done it a few dozen times, have 3 or 4 run innings, and they just not today. Again, Profar's ball taken back, 9th inning, get a runner. You get a second chance on Merrill that you shouldn't have gotten, and you just can't capitalize against a very, very soft bullpen. And hopefully tomorrow in game 2, they'll take advantage. Who's starting for Colorado? Tanner Gordon? Give me a break. Tanner Gordon in 3 starts is 0-3 with an 8.8. You got to score. You got to score early. You got to get a lead, and you got to hold it. Now, they had a lead here today and couldn't hold it, but you got to score tomorrow, and you got to give Martin Perez a little bit of breathing room, and you don't need Perez to be Cy Young tomorrow. He's a guy that has had a bad year, but actually first time through the order, he's been very good this year. So here's an example, a little bit like Vasquez. This isn't the game where Martin Perez, you're asking him to go 6 innings. It's actually the game you're just asking him to, be effective while he's out there. If it's 3 innings or 4 innings, and then let your bullpen hopefully do some work. Now, we don't know about Sunday. It might be a bullpen game, so maybe that changes the strategy a little bit. But I think in general, with Perez, you don't need this guy to go 6 innings. You need him to keep you in games and to be good when he's in there, even if it is only for 3 or 4 or 5 innings. But yeah, I think it's a good point. I think bottom line is they didn't hit. And it's hard to hold on to 2-1 leads all night. When did they take a 2-1 lead? The 4th inning tonight? The odds of just keeping a team at bay for 6 or 7 innings isn't great. It was 2-1 in the fourth inning. So you're going to hold Colorado scoreless for the next 5 innings. That's the strategy. It's a fair one with a good bullpen. It's going to happen. But you're also asking your bullpen to be perfect. And let's remember this. Let's remember this for a second too, that even if your 18 bullpen, let's say you had 6 high leverage relievers that combined to have a 2 ERA, they're allowing 2 earned runs every 9 innings or 1 every 4.5 innings. The odds are over 5 innings, teams will score 1 run even against elite pitching. So you can't just sit on 1-run leads and say, we're good, we got a great bullpen. Not that this is one game. This isn't going to be every game that plays out. And there's going to be games they sit on 1-run leads and they hold them and they get 5-6 scoreless innings. But there's other nights where your bullpen could be quote unquote good, but you're going to allow a run. That happens. You can't go 4 innings and never allow runs, is how I look at it. So it is what it is what I would say. All right, guys. Did I miss a super? I don't think I missed a super. Appreciate you guys. All right. Subscribe here on Content for Padres fans. Appreciate you, the home of real Padres talk. I tell it like it is. I try to. I give you my opinion. You might disagree with it, but I appreciate you. Smash the like button for me. Follow me on X at John Schaefer. And appreciate the super thanks if you're here on replay. And thank you for those that become members. Just click the join button down below. Really do appreciate you guys. I love the interaction. I like the back and forth. Hopefully you guys do as well. Flipper, you're not banned. You can stick around. So be good. Thank you to our partners, our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. If you have an insurance need, get in contact with Mark. Click the link in the description down below. I've been with him for years. You can be with him and save money. MOVA Globes. We've told you about MOVA Globes now for months. Great, great company right here in San Diego with officially licensed MOVA Globes. Click the link in the description down below and get 10% off with promo code PWS10. I'll get to the super Moises. And again, Underdog Fantasy, if you haven't played, you should be. Use promo code PADSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. You'll get that 50% deposit match plus a free special pick. Yeah, hopefully. I like this. Preach it. I like it, Moises. Rockies curse ends tomorrow. Who's with me? Yeah, listen. Everyone take a deep breath. Like, do it with me. Close your eyes. Some of you are like in bed. Some of you, I'm trying to think where everyone is right now. People are in bed. They're on their couch. They're watching on their phone, right? Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. I'm doing it. They're 9-3 since the All-Star break. They're 22-12 in their last 34 games. Go win this series. Won't be easy. I said it today. This is really challenging for a number of reasons that we laid out. It's not going to be easy. They're capable of winning the series. Let's see if they can do it. All right, for Jim, who's on his way to Zurich, I'm John. This has been the wrap-up show. Thanks, guys.